Hey there, this is Sam Flegal. I'm going to talk about my painting Tears Promise. If you've seen my previous videos, then you know that I go in with an alkyd medium. In this case, I've used a walnut alkyd. That's going to help the paint dry quickly. So here I'm going to be focusing on the main figure, which is the Norse god Tyr. Now, I've already making some pretty simple decisions. I want the cape to be red. Part of that's just to sort of echo some of the red that's going to be later in the painting, add a little rhythm to the painting as you repeat certain elements. But it's also just a simpler reason in that I have a blue background, so I want the figure to pop out, so I'm going to use warm colors, and the easiest way to do that is with red, red on blue. So that's what I've done here with the cape. He's going to have a red cape. I also want the symbolism. Tyr is god of war, so I want to focus on that too, to kind of show a red warrior's cape. And even though I'm using red and I do want the warms to stand out on the cool background, I'm still shifting the cape to blue on the underside. It's going kind of a grayish color, and that's to show it's reflecting the bounce light from the snow, from the cool background, all that stuff. Also, I haven't just mixed with alizarin crimson and cadmium red. I'm not just using reds. I'm mixing in grays and browns from the background. I want it to feel red, but actual red doesn't necessarily mean using red pigment when you're mixing paint. And so I don't yet want this to be a bright garish red. I want to stay somewhere more towards the gray tones. As I move up onto the figure, I am bringing in more saturated colors. Again, drawing attention as you kind of move from back to front in the piece. I did say this last video, but I feel like it's important to reiterate. Once again, it's about making decisions and then adjusting those decisions. I'm not expecting that every single thing I put down is perfect. But it's important not to get caught up in making no decisions. You can adjust things, and once this paint dries, you'll be able to adjust a lot. Once again, I'm moving into the figure, adding in a layer of walnut alkyd medium, just so everything will dry a little quicker and be a little glossier. And with the figure, I want him to have black armor with red accents. And so I've not mixed a straight black. In this case, I'm using Payne's Gray as my black. I may use ivory black at some point, most likely in glazing. But for now, I'm not quite ready to commit to something that dark, partially because I'm going to be making the figure lighter than the dark of the wolf that he's behind, so he pops forward. But then as we go down, his legs are over the white snow, so I need to fade darker. So he's going to be lighter up top and then darker as we come down. And I'm using the same palette that I used on the wolf. So a lot of these colors I'm pulling from colors used on the wolf. I may add a little more saturation, lighten or darken them a bit. But at this point, I want everything to have a homogeneous feel so that there's elements throughout the painting that bounce around. Also, for the details in his belt, I'm not super worried about rendering every single one of those details. For now, I've just glazed in a brown, and I'm letting the drawing do most of the work. In fact, at this stage, the drawing is doing a lot. It's more like just shading or coloring in the drawing, and then the next phase will be about adding real detail and going a bit more opaque. And at this point, there's really not a lot more to be said about what I'm doing here. Just filling in the colors and the base colors. So I'm going to jump the video forward just a little bit. All right. With the basic figure blocked in, I'm now going to move to the skin tones. Once again, applying the alkyd medium. Then I'm going to go in with the darks first, just very similar to what I did on the hand. In fact, I'm using some of the same pigments that I used in the hand, but I want them to be a bit brighter and more saturated, again, because this guy's the part that's coming forward. Also going to accentuate that little blood drop coming down. That's actually the focus of the painting in a lot of ways, is his hand holding his severed hand. And this phase, I'm not focused too hard on perfectly rendering everything. I'm using very thin paint to let the drawing show through. I'm relying very heavily on the drawing just to get those basic tones in. And then in the next phase, I'll go in and really render the face. In fact, the next stage of the painting will be to close up and really get the face right. I wanted to make Tyr a little bit older, so adding a little bit of gray into the hair. The model I use has a great beard. I don't know how obvious that is from the reference down below, but he's got some good gray strips to follow in his beard. And just with a little more detail work, I think that brings us to a close. Hope you guys have enjoyed this painting. I'm Sam Flegal.